Okay, hello everyone. We have Chris and Melissa Smith here. We're your
Hi again.
hosts of the Connection series. We are so stoked to be doing this, and we have an amazing guest on today, Laila Ali. I've had the privilege of getting to know Laila, I think, over the last couple of years, and she's amazing. I can't wait to have you guys learn more about her and who she is as a mom, who she is as an entrepreneur, who she is as an individual, and our mission with Family Brand is to inspire families to take a stand for their family by creating their family's brand. Like, what do you want to be known for as a family, and what do you want to stand for as a family? And part of that is creating a family culture of, love and joy and connection. And we just believe that right now in the world, families need more help than ever. And we also believe that the world needs stronger families now more than ever. And yeah, we're so excited to have you here. For those of you who are watching, please share this. Like, the only way that we can get this word out to help as many families as possible, share this, start a watch party on your page. I promise you can figure it out. I was able to if I can figure out how to start a watch party on my page, everyone can figure out how to start a watch party. And so Laila, yeah, like, love having you here. Like, tell us, like, what is it? I'm curious, first of all, what's the whole thing, the pandemic we're in now, what's that been like for your family?
Well, first, before I get into that, I just have to say thank you so much for creating this platform to share on. I think it's so important. Family and, is amazing and important to everyone. But we never think about having a family brand, you know what I mean? And I think about what's important to us, but to have it in an organized way so that we can be intentional about it and get stronger in that area and pass it down for generations is amazing, So thank you so much. And I mean, I'm just hanging in there like everybody else. It's a crazy, crazy time in the fact, when you think about just the uncertainty, when it comes to just our families, our children, school, our health, our businesses, seeing the suffering that's going on, different information coming from different places. And, we're all in this together. We truly are. And I think it's really showing us how more connected we are than we even realize. It's going on globally. Everybody's dealing with it right now. So, I'm just keeping everyone in my prayers and taking it day by day. But it's totally not easy, not for me,
Yeah. Well, and Laila, like, for those of you who don't know, I mean, obviously most accomplished female boxer of all time, but that's just one of the, really successful entrepreneur. We're going to talk about some of the things you've done with entrepreneurship, have an amazing marriage, amazing children. But I can't help but ask, like, and I know people, what was it like growing up with Muhammad Ali, like the greatest, right? Like, what was that?
I don't know any other life, and I'm blessed to have had him as a father, being that he was such a amazing man. I just really learned by example from my father, just watching him. And regardless of whether you realize it or not, your kids are always watching you. It's not about just what you say, it's what you do, right? And they're listening to your conversations on the phone. They're listening to if you judge people, or whatever the case may be. They learn all that from us. They learn kindness or they learn hate at home. And for me, I learned kindness, I learned love. My father was so giving, not only to us, he always kissed us and hugged us. I mean, he wasn't the biggest disciplinarian, but so I felt really comfortable, just showing affection, and having that touch, which is so important, and feeling loved unconditionally, I think is really important. And then just the way that people loved him and like darn near bowed down to him, but he never thought he was better than anybody else. He always smiled, he always laughed. And then he'd come home and say to us, I'm the most famous man in the world. Anywhere I go, people know me, they know my name. They don't have to have a TV, they don't have to have a newspaper, they don't have to have anything. They know my name. And he says, but you know what? You know why? And then that's when he would first get our attention with that and explain, because of all the great things he's done for people outside of the ring, not because of what he's done in the ring, because he stood up for people, he stood up for himself, and he showed compassion and humility on top of being a great athlete, So that was always something that was important to him. And people always say, well, what was one of your, because there's so many quotes, you can look at Muhammad Ali quotes and there's tons of them. And they always say, well, what's your favorite Ali quote? I mean, I don't memorize his quotes. I'm his daughter, he's my dad. We all look at our parents different than anyone else. Mm-hmm. But the one thing I did remember is just him always saying, never step on anybody else to get ahead. And that's always stuck with me because we see people do it all the time, you know, in the corporate world or whatever, like feeling like you got to dim someone else's light to make yours shine. And that's not what he did. He was always about uplifting people, you know, making people feel good and believing that, you know, you have faith in knowing that whatever's meant for you is going to come for you. It's going to, you know, happen for you. So that gives you
Yeah.
a lot of a release, like, okay, I'm gonna be the best that I can be, and what's meant to be will be. And that's a tremendous amount of confidence and faith. And I like to instill that in my children as well.
I love that.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things I loved when I got to know your story, Laila, for the first time, is that it was really clear to me that like the reason you were able to become one of the most, not the most, one of, you were able to become the most accomplished female boxer of all time and have all the successful career is because the path was super easy for you because you're Muhammad Ali's daughter. I can't even say without laughing because I know I'm joking. I'm being super facetious. Like, talk about how, like, because I think people probably have that image of you as like, oh yeah, she's Muhammad Ali's daughter. He totally trained her and personally mentored her on how to be a boxer. And then I heard that story from you and I was like, wow, like, you know, so talk about how that shaped you, like this idea of watching your dad go after his dreams, but also he didn't do it for you.
Oh yeah, my dad didn't do anything for me, actually. You know, my parents divorced when I was really young, and I always had this fighter in me. I was living in a dysfunctional home with my mom, with the man that she married, had a lot of anger, got into a lot of trouble. Go through this quickly, and I ended up in juvenile hall at one point, you know, for 3 months, not just overnight. And you have to imagine, this is Muhammad Ali's daughter in juvenile hall, you know, and you know, being my father, being Muhammad Ali couldn't get me out. So that was a real wake up call for me. Like, okay. So, you know, but once that happened, I said, you know what, I got to get my head on straight. So as soon as I got out, I've always been an ambitious person. You know, I went to school to learn how to do nails because I had already knew I wanted to move out the house by the time I was 18, live on my own, support myself. So I kind of finished up school and got my license and built a clientele, had a nail salon by the time I was 18 with a clientele, living on my own, going to school. And then I saw boxing on television for the first time. And I was never an athlete, never participated in sports. I was too busy being bad, you know, trying to be grown and moving out the house to be, you know, it takes parental support and a certain attitude to go to sports and go to practice and all that. I didn't have that living in the dysfunctional home with my mom. And when I saw women's boxing for the first time, I was like, how did I not know that I could box? I was already a fighter. It's part of the reason I got in trouble. And it was in my blood. And I was like, wow. And I went home dreaming about becoming a fighter that night. And then the next day I woke up and the fear, the doubt, you know, set in like, I'm not an athlete. How am I going to do this? What's everyone going to think? What about the plans that I have? So it took me a year to actually decide I'm going to do this. And then I said, you know what, I'm going to find a gym on my own. I didn't call my dad. I'm going to start training and I'm going to see if I have what it takes because I know what kind of pressure I'm going to be under. I'm a very realistic person. I think things through. I plan. I'm strategic, methodical. So I was like, let me go check this out. Don't want to embarrass myself. Don't want to embarrass my dad. And I just straight up don't want to do it if I'm not going to be good at it because I believe I could do a lot of things that I could be good at, right? So I went to the gym, fell in love with it. 6 months in, my dad heard about it. It got around him because I remember I dropped this guy in the gym. Like I punched this guy in sparring and dropped him. That kind of got around. Like, wait a minute, is this girl like what is she? Because I told everyone I was just training. I was just trying to lose weight. I didn't say what I was thinking about doing. It was kind of done in secrecy. So once it got to my dad, he asked me, so I hear you're in the boxing gym and, you know, are you trying to fight? And I said, yeah, I am. And, you know, he tried to talk me out of it indirectly. He's brought up every negative thing that could happen. You know, the whole world's going to be watching you. How are you going to deal with it? You know, and I said all the right answers. I'm going to do what you did. I'm going to deal with it. And finally, he was just like, it's not for you. It's not for women. It's too hard. I don't want you to do it. And I said, well, I'm going to do it regardless. So, you know, you're either going to support me or you're not. So he had to he was stuck between a rock and a hard place because here's his daughter, youngest girl of 9 children. And the only one to box coming behind him, right? So he came and he supported me, but he hated every moment of it, meaning like the actual fighting. But by the time I got a world title, a little while into it, he came to me and said, I'm sorry, I was wrong. You can fight, women can fight. So I felt like I won for not only myself, but, you know, for women, and just changed his idea of what women could and couldn't do. So I always had a target on my back from day one. It totally wasn't easy. Everyone fought me harder. Everyone judged me harder. No amateur fights, just went into it, had my pro fight. So it took a tremendous strength within me and confidence within myself to go into, do, and follow his footsteps, the greatest fighter of all time, as a woman in a sport that I didn't know much about, you know, that I kind of figured out, put my team together on my own. Because he wasn't, you know, some people say, well, why wouldn't you have your dad help you? Because he was a boxer. He wasn't into boxing or promoting or the business of boxing. He's a humanitarian. So I did it on my own. Now, could I have reached out and got some of his contacts? Probably, but that wasn't my style. I just do it on my own.
Yeah. How did that, like, I can do this and I'm going to do that. Like, how has that influenced your parenting style? Like what with your own kids?
I think really it's the faith that I have in, you know, when you can say, God, please, whatever's meant to happen, that's what I want to happen. It takes a lot of pressure off of me. And I ask to be guided to do the right thing. I learned to listen to my intuition, you know, and learn from mistakes along the way and really just listen to my children. So for me, what's most important in my house is raising loving kids that feel loved unconditionally. You know, I'm not one of those parents that's like, you have to make A's and you have to do this and you have to do that, and make them feel like, you know, if they don't do it, I'm not gonna be happy, you know? So I want them to know that, I want them to know that, you know, I'm here to support them. They can come talk to me. You know, I might be disappointed, but that I will always listen. And I encourage them to speak up for themselves. Some people don't want kids talking back. Whereas if I say something and they say, well, why? Or, you know, I want them to say that to me because I want them to grow up feeling like their voice should be heard and comfortable speaking up. So when they get older, they can do that in any environment and they're going to expect that their voice should be heard. I think a lot of times we train kids young, you know, not to speak back, not to say what's on their mind, not to tell me if they disagree. And then as adults, we see that a lot. People are afraid to speak up. They're afraid to speak up with their friends or in their relationship or in the workplace because it's innately in them because as a child, they weren't able to do it. So I'm going to let you speak up in a respectful way. I feel like you could say anything, anyone can, as long as you say it the right way. And I might say, okay, it looks like I did my dad. Well, I hear you and I respect that you feel that way, but I got to do what's in my heart. You know, and with my kids, I say, well, okay, but you still have to do it, you know. And then if they get to be too much, why? Because my daughter does that game, you know, just to prolong the situation. Okay, that's enough, you know. I'll let her have her moment. But, and I'm not saying I'm the perfect parent. I'm just saying that that's kind of the foundation for which everything we do. And my husband and I, that's why I said I love this idea, because we're at that point where we're like, you know, we need to come up with our traditions and our, you know, values, not just what we do naturally, but really talk about it, set it in stone, you know, so it's really clear.
I think that's one of the things that we realized is we had a lot of intentions of what we wanted to be as a family. But as you and I know in business and different things, it's like, if that's not put into language though, that can shape your culture. And it's like this declared, and we have a very similar, like, we want our children to feel like they have a voice. Like, so one of our family values is Smiths can talk about anything without judgment. And that's easier said than done, right? It's like, but you tell our kids all the time, you can talk about anything without judgment, but can they really come to you and share anything or any idea or any opinion? But I love, where do you draw the line in like doing it for your kids or kind of doing what your dad did for you of like, hey, I'm going to give you the opportunity, but if you want it, like, you've got to go for it. Like, you've got to really like take a stand for yourself.
You know, I think, like I said, they really learn just from seeing how my husband and I interact with others, seeing how I deal with other people. I'm real careful. Even sometimes I get on the phone with my girlfriends and we might be saying certain things. And, you know, like, say, for example, my daughter heard me say to someone, oh, yeah, she gained weight, girl, you know, blah, 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 blah. She's going to be like, is that a bad thing? Or is that, you know, shapes their ideas of how I'm judging someone else. So just things like that, just how we interact with one another is so important. I think with one thing that I'm working on as a parent is, and my husband has to get on me all the time, is that, you know, because I didn't grow up with a whole lot of structure. You know, I didn't grow up with someone telling me this is wrong, this is right, this is how you do things. I learned a lot on my own because, like I said, I was in a dysfunctional upbringing. I was pretty much abandoned, you know, raised myself. So I have weaknesses in a certain area where my husband has strengths. Because what I do is I will come to the rescue of my kids often, do things for them. No, it's not like this, do it like that. And I'll darn near do the whole thing. It's like, you're not teaching them if you're doing it for them. So I'm trying to get better at, allowing them to make mistakes, allowing them to fall, allowing them to do it in my household. So when they go out and face the world, that they'll be able to recover and not feel like mommy's going to be there to rescue them all the time, because I'm not always going to be there. So when you ask that question, that was one of the things that I'm working on, because I need to have a little bit more tough love, not just with the go to bed on time and clean up. I'm talking about just things that are more emotional, because my son is very sensitive. He's highly sensitive. He has a little anxiety. And, I was kind of coming to his rescue too much, and I need to teach him how to work these things out, because he's going to have to deal with them, regardless. So I don't know if I answered the question fully, but I did.
That's great.
And I love how you said that you and your husband, you recognize each other's different strengths and you really work together to elevate each other.
Oh, absolutely. My husband is always on me about, you just have no structure. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, we eat dinner at 6. I do, but he's more like, if the bedtime is 9, like, why is it 9:15 and they're downstairs, you're giving them fruit? I'm like, well, they were hungry. Yeah, but they need to know that you're supposed to eat at this time. So then I notice, okay, now I have this habit with my daughter where every time she's coming down to get her fruit, and I'm like, okay, I trained her to think she can come to me. Well, I'm going to ask mommy because, so they know who to work, so like, I think it's really important for parents to be on the same page. And I'm saying this because I'm saying it to myself, where I was like, okay, I got to get on the page with my husband, because I started feeling myself going, sneak here, like giving it to her, like daddy doesn't see. I'm like, teaching her how to be sneaky. It's not cool. So, but because to me, it's because I'm like, it's not a big deal. It's a fruit, but it doesn't matter. The point is, we need to both be on the same page. We need to be, make them feel like, no, you're not going to get it from mommy and daddy said no, or vice versa, or make him the bad guy. So I think it's so important, like, to come up with all this, and this is the way it's going to be, and we're going to stick to it, and we're both going to do it. It's the only way it's going to work.
One of the things that we want to teach as part of family brand, as part of the culture, is that the ways that you connect, like, and create a connected family. And one of them, as simple as it sounds, it's been around forever, is eating meals together. And there's this, like, Laila, I'll send it to you, this research out of Stanford that is like mind blowing, the statistics between a family that eats 7 meals a week together versus a family that just eats about 2 or 3. Like, and they tracked those kids and their lives and their likelihood to, like, use drugs, use alcohol, like teenage sex, like linked back to, like, the number of meals a family's eating together. So I think it's amazing that you guys have that. And yeah, granted, we have an intention to eat. It doesn't happen every day because, but we have an intention of, like, we're going to eat breakfast together. We're going to eat dinner together. I just think it's so important for connection.
We definitely eat dinner together. And, we eat at the table. And I noticed for a while we started, especially just being home all the time, like Sydney, my daughter, who's just turned 9, she might be at the, counter in the kitchen. And then my husband might be like, I'm going to watch the TV and be over there. And we're all in the same room. We're not together. And I was like, okay, we got to stop this. So we're back, at least dinner, sitting at the table. I'm not talking about, it doesn't have to be a fancy table. Just get your plate, bring it to the table, and let's, like, disconnect. Let's talk. And at first they're like, well, talk about what? And I'm like, what'd you do today? And then it just gets going. And I'm like, you go first, daddy. But it was like, dang, because when we were in school, I'm talking about before homeschooling, because that's when things kind of started getting different, when they're home all day. It used to be you go to school, you come home, we eat dinner. But now it's like, we're here all day together. It's like, well, why do we need to eat together? But, it's different because everyone's, like, on their devices, and I'm kind of not fully present. Like, when I'm working, I got things going on. You know how it is. You multitask. You're like, yeah, but you're not really zoned in. So it's like, that's the time to say, okay, have them speak to you, about how their day was or what was on their mind, and things come out. And I think that's what makes the difference when you talk about in the future, the connection, because just sitting there doesn't mean you're connected. But just kind of, well, how did you feel? Why did that make you feel that way? Or, what made you happy? Or what made you sad? Or, what was your favorite part of the day? Or, you know what I mean? Things like that. So dinner is a great time to do that.
Okay, Laila, I got a tip for you. You got to try it with your family. Don't tell them, though. Like, don't set it up. Just start asking one kid or one family member. And we do it at night, and our kids actually really love it. If we forget, they'll remind us best, worst, weirdest. So
at dinner,
best part of your day, worst part of your day, weirdest part of your day.
So we'll throw weirdest in.
Yeah, and it's like funny, like, or sometimes it's like, it was weird that I didn't get to hug grandma and grandpa.
No.
Like the pandemic, like that was weird. Like the pandemic, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, but anyways, One of the things I wanted to, and I know Melissa wanted to ask you about homeschool. One of the things that we realized in our journey of being separated, almost divorced, like not separated working on it, like separated going to get divorced, and then like taking a stand for our marriage, is we realized like marriages, like families that are made of whole individuals, like are stronger, meaning we've got to come together, but I've got to be like going after my dreams, right? And working on myself. And Melissa, talk about how important that is for you to like go after your dreams personally and how that impacts your family, and that example of like showing people and your kids, but also it's important for your husband to go after his dreams.
It's so important because we're all individual human beings first, before she's your wife or you're her husband, and they're your kids. Our kids come through us, but they don't belong to us. They're going to go out and start their own family and, all that. So, if you're unhappy inside, it's hard to be in a good relationship with someone else. If you're unfulfilled, so my big dog is in here. If you're unfulfilled, he's like 130 pounds, just knock something over. Come here, buddy. If you're unfulfilled as a person, it's definitely going to show up in the relationship. So, for example, I've been through that too. I mean, my husband, we didn't actually separate, but we've had a hard time. We were looking at each other like, well, do we need to get a divorce? You know what I mean? And we didn't actually go that far. I'm on my second marriage. This is my second. I got married really young. So I've been through a divorce, but Curtis and I are both athletes. Curtis played in the NFL for 13 years. He retired, and we both went through the same thing where you're figuring out what's going to fulfill you, what's going to make you happy. And you can go through a depression. I luckily had been able to find, my passion through encouraging people to be the best version of themselves. And, what I came and worked with you for with Laila Ali lifestyle. And I spend a lot of time every day dealing with my organic spice blends and my Uplenish and my skincare line about to come out. So it's like I have a lot of work to do, whereas he has more free time during the day. So a lot of times he's just like, you're so busy all the time. It's like, yeah, but I'm working, and then that can cause rifts because I'm like, you need to figure out what you can do to keep yourself busy, So he's still in that stage of finding his happiness, right? So I'm saying there can be ups and downs there. That's just showing you how both of us need to have the things that make us happy outside of our marriage, because it's not your relationship that's going to make you happy. You don't want to need a relationship. You don't want to need someone else. You want to be whole, right? A whole person, and be coming into the relationship to be strong together. Like, I can totally be without you if I had to. I don't want to, you know what I mean? But I can survive, and we don't ever want to be like, I need you to make me happy. I need you to make me feel important. I need you to be around me to make me feel, comfortable, or I'm insecure without you. Can't be that. And unfortunately, a lot of people are in those type of relationships. And then you have to be able to look at yourself and say, dang, where can I strengthen myself so that my partner can respect me, love me, be turned on by me? Because when you're feeling weak and you're feeling down and you're feeling like poor me, pity party, it's just not attractive, and then it's just like a vicious cycle, so there's other things that can happen. But like I said, that's why I feel you. It truly is important, to work on yourself always.
Yeah. Like that quote, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. We've all heard that. Mm-hmm. I thought about it in the context of a family a couple of years ago, and I changed it a little bit, and it was, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts if the parts are whole. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like if,
but I do want to say that, because it could be people listening, there's so many ups and downs in marriages, as you know, and, you can be at a time where you're like, I just don't want to be with this person. I'm unhappy, or the person's unattractive to you, and you totally can move down the line 5 years later and things be totally different. That's why if you're with someone that you love and that they're worth it, you need to try to work on it and stick through it. Don't just throw the whole relationship out. It's different if you're with an abusive person, someone who is never going to change, all that kind. That's different. But you have a person that's a good person, a good parent, a good husband, and they're just going through something. That's part of being married, is to help that other person, try to support them through their ups and downs, because that's just what marriage is about. You know what I mean? We're all human beings. So like I said, we're going to go through that,
Totally.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like a lot of times people maybe give up too soon on the relationship, when like in the middle of it, when we were separated, looking ahead 5 years seemed like impossible. But I actually read a study around that time that said, like, thinking about divorce, like most couples in 5 years from that place find that they're happier than they ever could have imagined. And I remember thinking like, no, that's impossible. Like, that couldn't happen. But yeah, I love that you interjected that there, and I totally agree that that's possible.
Yeah. And to Melissa's credit for the watching, like I was the one that came home one day out of nowhere. I left. We had an 18-month-old beautiful little boy, a 4-week-old beautiful little baby, and I was like, I don't want to think of the bond, Melissa, like going through like all of like, you know, postpartum and like newborn, and like your husband comes home pretty unexpectedly, and Melissa just intuition of like, this is something going on with Chris. Just stay loyal to him and believe in him. And she had every right to judge me. She had every right to like throw it in my face. She had every right to like not. And like, I just, to this day, all the time, like she showed up as a leader and I'm talking about, supported me and created space, see possibility and come into that space and change. And it was like, and I'm like, I mean, now we have 5 kids and like a beautiful relationship. And I'm just like, so glad we fought for our marriage. But I think had Melissa not, so there's a time in our marriage where I really need to be the leader and support her. Right. You know, but, and so for those of you watching also, I just want to put a plug in for Laila, like anyone from our community, Laila Ali Lifestyle, amazing. Like all things replenishing your mindset, your health, your purpose. I know we're running short on time here, but I'd love to, I know you wanted to ask Laila something about homeschooling, and then I'll ask a question for you, Laila.
Yeah, have been getting a lot of questions about homeschooling because it's so new. So many people had shared with me that you actually homeschooling prior to this. So what would be your best advice for people listening that are newer to homeschooling that you've learned over the last few months?
Yeah, we started homeschooling at the end of first semester. Abruptly took my kids out of their school because I realized it wasn't the right place and I needed to take them out then. And I was like, oh God, what now? So we did all this research. And I had a friend who's like homeschool queen. You know, she's used to be a teacher. She has 6 kids. She homeschools all, and then she was on a program. So she gave me, there's just so many different curriculums and things. So, you know, we ended up going with iLead. They have 2 different programs, but you know, we do plan to go back to school depending on what's happening with everything that's going on now. But, you know, it took me probably like 2.5 months to really settle in. So I would say to parents, take your time, you know, when you look back, it's gonna be a memory of, oh God, remember when that happened? We're gonna get through this, but don't put too much pressure on yourself. You know, your kids are gonna be fine. You know, they're gonna miss a little bit of, you know, education or what as they're used to it right now, but they'll totally be fine. They'll be able to bounce back, you know, and everybody's aware of what's going on. So, but I think that, you know, when we're homeschooling now, is we should all be thinking about, you know, because normally our kids spend hours at school, more time with their teachers in the school than they do with us, you know, and they're forming their thoughts about themselves and the world around them and other people. So it's really important for us now to think like, how can we pour into our children, you know, really pay attention to them, stop what we're doing and really see how their personalities develop, how their confidence is developing, how they're thinking about other people. Are they sharing with you the anxiety that they're feeling or they're wondering right now? I mean, we've never seen this kind of thing in our lifetime. You can imagine what they're thinking. I know my son has a lot of questions and anxiety around it. So really just taking the time to connect with them, because people say it all the time, how quickly our kids grow up. You'll never get that time back. And it's true, you know, and we'll never get this time back that we have now. As much time as we have with them, you know, so definitely that's all I say is just take your time when it comes to picking the curriculum, or a lot of you already are just doing what the school that they were already in has. There's a lot of programs online that you can use to supplement. One thing that I love, someone told me I should do is, and I think is great, is like have kids journal every day. So even if it's just half a page, have them write and journal, and then they can that'll kind of help them write what's on their minds, and it'll be nice for everyone. I want to do it. I keep telling myself to do it. Like, you should journal right now. What was I thinking? What was I feeling during this time? And that's going to be history, you know, and how we dealt with it, taking a lot of pictures, taking a lot of video so that we can have memories of, you know, remember when this happened, you know what I mean? And I think it's going to be life-changing for everybody. You know, the world is healing, you know, without everybody out here with the smog and, you know what I'm saying, abusing the planet. So it's actually healing. And I think that a lot of people are healing as well. So there is a silver lining there.
It's awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I actually have two questions. One piece of advice. If you could only give one piece of advice to families, what would it be?
One piece of advice?
Yeah, to families. Just on your heart. Just like.
Okay, well, first thing that comes to my mind is eating healthier. I mean, people have to realize that food that comes from the earth, okay, that God created, you know, we're talking about your proteins, your animal proteins, or your grains, or your vegetables, or your fruits, and your water. All of these things, when you eat them and they break down, they turn into the cells that turn into your hair and your brain and your organs. So you think about how important those nutrients are. But now many of us are eating processed food that's not even food. It's food-like. You look on you see all these chemicals is made in a factory, and you wonder why the leading killer is heart disease, you know, and people dying from their lifestyle choices. So not to overwhelm people, but we want to try to, if you're going to eat processed foods, try to pick brands that are at least using, you know, better ingredients, and try to cook healthier meals at home. Try to incorporate more whole foods, you know, and then you'll see that it's going to make everybody feel better, look better, perform better. Your brain can't even function properly without the nutrients that we need. So that's the main thing that I think families need to do. It needs to start at home, and you'll be setting up your kids for the future later. I'm not gonna say my kids never have anything processed, because they do, but it's what we do 75-80% of the time is what really matters most.
And there's so many studies that link kids' behavior and their well-being, and they're like, you know, I think one of the things that's fascinating to me is like, it's crazy to think about like childhood anxiety and depression and teenage suicide rates and all these things like that are just, and like there's studies linking a lot of that to like the food people are eating. Okay, last question. I know you would have to talk to your family about this, but for you, if you had to say like, this is what I want my family to be known for, if there was like something like, what's the first thing that kind of comes to you? I know it's a big question, but like, I want us to be known for, like, what comes to you?
You know, I mean, my dad started it, you know, it's hard to change it,
Okay.
but I think that for me, it's just that we're authentic and compassionate, you know, compassionate towards other people. And I have to say, I'm really proud of the fact that my children are kind and loving. You know, some people might be proud, oh, my son plays, you know, football great, or my children, you know, are straight A students, they're gonna go to Ivy League college. When I see them wake up and hug and kiss one another, my son used to go, when they were in the school, he used to go, the teachers used to tell me, your son is so sweet. He comes to Sydney's class and gives her, like, if they have a party in his class, can I take a cupcake to my sister? Then he'll take her a cupcake. And they hug at school, you know, they're not embarrassed that other kids are watching. They say bye when they go their separate ways. Like, I'm like, oh, that's because they get it from us. Because in the morning we're like family, and we all hug. And if I hug my husband, my daughter, wait, she runs over there and they want to be in it. You know what I mean? So, and that's how we like to end prayer together at night. You know, we have a prayer that we say, and we have a prayer at dinner. And then, you know, it's just, that's what makes me proud, is just to see how loving they are.
Beautiful.
I love it.
Well, Laila, you've been amazing. You have a beautiful family, like amazing business, like you're an incredible human being. So we just, thanks for being on, and this will make a difference for families. And for those of you families watching, like we believe in you. We believe in the power of family. And thanks for being part of the Connection series.
Thank you. One more thing, and you helped me create this. I would like to invite people to LailaAli.com. I have my Replenish series that you can sign up to. It's free to replenish your health, your mindset, and your purpose. And, you know, it's just a free email series. So check it out. And anything we talked about in terms of my products are there too. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to share with your platform.
Yeah, no, thank you, Laila. And I will say, like, to that, I think one of the things though, Laila, I want to talk back really quick, is that I think some of the families though, they know they should eat healthier. Like, that's a thing that's, I don't think there's a lot of families that are like, oh, I should eat healthier. I don't think they hear it enough. So I love that was the most important thing you want to share, but it's like how and where to start. And that's exactly what you'll get when you go to LailaAli.com.
Small steps in the right direction. Small steps in the right direction. Don't overwhelm yourself out of doing anything. I don't care if you just drink more water or you eat a salad with your meals. It's like, don't try to make hard changes overnight. That's my thing. What can you add opposed to what you need to take away? So yeah, check it out. But thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye, everybody.